Hey there, 7th grade. This next video starts our next unit, which is over relations and functions. And this unit here really starts us off in what is true Algebra 1. Up until this point, with solving equations and solving inequalities, we've really been working on some pre-algebra skills to get you prepared for what's to come, starting with this unit here. This unit focuses a lot on graphing, and so we're going to start out these notes here by reviewing how to plot points on the coordinate plane. So let's start out with, what is the coordinate plane? Well, it is a plane formed by two number lines, one horizontal and one vertical. And these lines are known as axes, A-X-E-S, which is the plural for the word axis. The horizontal axis is what is called the x-axis. And so in a coordinate plane, which you can see right here in the middle of your page, this axis that I'm going to highlight in pink is the x-axis. The vertical axis is called the y-axis, and it's the one that I'm going to highlight here in green. The x-axis and the y-axis both intersect at a point that we call the origin. So that would be this point here in the middle. And the x and the y-axis both divide the coordinate plane into 4 quadrants. The top right quadrant we normally call quadrant 1. And then we move counterclockwise. The next quadrant here would be quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So that should be a review for you of how we label the coordinate plane and what makes up the coordinate plane. Next, we're going to move on to ordered pairs and review what I mean by an ordered pair. So an ordered pair is what we use to identify the location or the coordinates of a point on the coordinate plane. And an ordered pair looks just like this. It is contained within parentheses. There is an x value, which comes first in an ordered pair, and then a y value, both separated by a comma. The first number in the ordered pair is the x coordinate. The second number is the y coordinate. What the first number tells you is how far the point you have is located left or right from the origin. Left, just like on a number line, implies you're going in a negative direction. If you're going left of the origin, you're in negative land. Right implies a positive direction. The y-coordinate in an ordered pair tells you how far a point is located down or up from the origin. So if I'm going down away from the origin on the y-axis, then I'm going into negative land. If I'm moving up, my numbers are increasing and I'm in positive land. So what we're going to do here on the next page is we're just going to review how we name points with ordered pairs. So you'll see I have another coordinate plane now with 5 ordered pairs labeled, A, B, C, D, and E. If we're labeling points on a coordinate plane, we usually use capital letters or the ordered pair itself to label those points. And so now we're just going to practice naming these points with coordinates. So my first point A is located right here. And you'll notice it is 3 units to the left of the origin. 1, 2, 3. So that means the x-coordinate of that point is -3. It is also 2 units up from the origin. 1, 2. So its y-coordinate is +2. So we give that point A the ordered pair -3, 2. And remember, we enclose all ordered pairs in parentheses. Point B is located down here in quadrant 4. It is 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the right of the origin, so that's a +4 for my x-coordinate, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units down, so that's a -5 for the y-coordinate. So it's located at 4, -5. I want you now to pause the video and try labeling points C, D, and E with the right ordered pairs. Once you've done that, click play to check your answers. Okay, so check your answers to make sure you did these correctly. Point C is located on the y-axis, so that means it hasn't moved either left or right from the origin. So its x-coordinate is just 0 because it hasn't gone either left or right. It has gone 6 up from the origin, so its y-coordinate is 6, so we give it the ordered pair 0, 6. D is located 9 units to the right, so its x-coordinate is positive 9. It's located between 2 and 3 if we're moving upwards, so I'm calling that 2.5. So 9, 2.5 would be its ordered pair. And then point E is located 6 to the left of the origin and 3 down. So its ordered pair is -6, -3. So the first thing you need to remember is how to plot and label ordered pairs on a coordinate plane in order to be successful in this unit. The next thing we're going to talk about is really the vocabulary for what this unit is really about. And we're starting out with what is a relation. A relation is simply a set of ordered pairs. Okay, it's just a set of ordered pairs. We can represent ordered pairs in a lot of different ways. One way we can represent ordered pairs is by using a graph, like I did up above. So if I took all 5 of these ordered pairs and put them on a graph, I could call that a relation. Another way to represent a relation is by using what's called a mapping diagram, which you can see down here. You'll notice I have the same x values and the same y values that I did in these ordered pairs above. Okay, I have a -3, 4, 0, 9, and -6 as my x coordinates in examples 1 through 5, and you'll see the same numbers down here below in this x circle. You'll also notice I have the same y coordinates, and each of these x coordinates, for example -6, matches up with the correct y coordinate, just like -6 here was paired with -3. So this is just a different way of presenting the information in the graph on paper, but this is still what we call a relation. Okay, it's a set of ordered pairs, an x value paired with a y value. Another way to represent a relation is by using a table of values, or we'll sometimes call this a t-chart. -6 again is paired with -3, -3 is paired with +2, just like point A, etc. So what we're going to practice now for the end of this video is how to represent relations in all 3 different ways, using a table, using a mapping diagram, and using a graph. But before we get to that, I want to talk about 2 more vocabulary words, and these words are going to be very important in your studies of algebra. You'll be using these from now through the rest of your math careers, and that are those are the words domain and range. So when we talk about relations, we often refer to the set of input or x values as the domain, and the set of output or y values as the range. So anytime you hear that word domain, you're thinking x values. Anytime you hear that word range, you're thinking y values. Again, relations can be represented using graphs, mapping diagrams, and tables. And so now what we're going to do in the next couple of examples is we're going to take different relations, again sets of ordered pairs, and represent them using all 3 of those methods. We're also going to practice identifying the domain and the range of each relation. Okay, so for number 6, I'm going to start out by taking these 4 ordered pairs. Again, this is a relation here, a set of ordered pairs, and I'm going to represent these ordered pairs in a table. So in a table, all you're doing is you're taking each x coordinate. So my x coordinates are 2, -2, 5, and -1, and you're placing them in the x column of your table. So we have 2, -2, 5, and -1. You do the same thing for the y coordinates. Our y coordinates are 5, 3, -2, and -2. And I'm going to put them in the table, being careful to make sure I match the y coordinates with their corresponding x coordinates. So I had an x coordinate of 2 and a y coordinate of 5 in this first ordered pair. So in my table, I should have a 2, 5 in the same row. I had a negative 2, 3 for my next ordered pair. So negative 2, 3 should be my next row. And then 5, negative 2, and then negative 1, negative 2. The order of your numbers does not matter as long as the x and y values match up correctly for a table. Next, I'm going to represent this relation in a mapping diagram format. A mapping is similar to a table. All of the x values go in the left column or circle. All of the y values go in the right. For a mapping diagram, though, we want to list our x and y values in numerical order. So that means least to greatest in a column. So if I look at my x values, my smallest x value is negative 2. So I'm going to start with that. Then negative 1. Then positive 2, then positive 5. For my y values, my smallest y value is negative 2, and it's listed twice. When I list it in a mapping diagram, I only list each value once. So I'm not going to repeat this negative 2 here. I'm just listing it one time. Then I have a 3, and then I have a 5. So now, in order to correctly construct my mapping diagram, I'm looking at what x value pairs with each y value. And I can get that either from my original problem or from my table. Well, I see 2 pairs with 5, so I'm going to draw an arrow from positive 2 to positive 5. Negative 2 pairs with 3, so I'm drawing an arrow from negative 2 to positive 3. 5 pairs with negative 2, so an arrow from 5 to negative 2. And negative 1 also pairs with a negative 2, so an arrow goes from negative 1 to negative 2. Finally, I'm going to put each of these ordered pairs in graph format. So starting with my ordered pair 2, 5, that point would go starting at the origin, 2 right and 5 up from the origin. And I want you to label your points anytime you plot them on a graph. So there's 2, 5. My next ordered pair is negative 2, positive 3. So starting at the origin, I'm going left 2 and up 3. My next ordered pair is 5, negative 2. So start at the origin, you go right 5 and down 2. And then finally, negative 1, negative 2 would be left 1 and down 2. Okay, so that's this relation in number 6 represented in 3 different ways: a table, a mapping diagram, and a graph. Now we're going to practice listing the domain and the range of that relation. Again, a domain is just referring to the set of x values. So my x values, you can find those in 3 different places. You can find them in the x column of your table, the first oval in your mapping diagram, or by looking at the first coordinate in each of your ordered pairs here. My x values for my domain, I'm going to list in numerical order, just like my mapping diagram. And again, those values are negative 2, negative 1, 2, and 5. Now, when you're listing a domain or listing a range, you list that set of numbers in braces. So those are these squiggly lines. You don't list them in parentheses. You list them in braces because, again, these aren't ordered pairs. These are just the x values of your ordered pairs. The range, we do the same thing, but for the y values. If I look at my mapping diagram, I already have them listed in order. Negative 2, 3, and 5 are my y values, so those values are my range for this relation. Okay, we're going to practice this one more time for example 7. If you think you have the hang of this, what I'd like you to do is pause the video and try all 3 of these on your own, including the domain and the range, and then once you're done, click play to check your answer, and then we'll talk about how you get each of these different representations. So go ahead, try it on your own, and then click play just to be sure you're on the right track. Okay, so if you answered problem 7 correctly, then this is what you should have gotten for your answers. Your table should look like this. Your mapping diagram this. Again, your x values and your y values are least to greatest in order, and you're not repeating any of your values. Your graph should look like this. The 0.24 is up here on my 3. And then your domain values are the x values in order. The range values are the y values in order, both of those contained in braces. If you have any questions over this video, be sure you jot those down so that you can ask those the next time I see you in class. And until then, have a nice day. You're all wonderful people. Take care.